The subway car shuddered through the tunnel, its fluorescent lights casting stark shadows across Jack Harper's polished loafers. He sat upright, his tailored navy suit creased from a long day, his phone clutched tightly as he scrolled through emails. At 45, Jack was a man who thrived in corner offices, not this rattling train bound for Willow Creek. But a critical deal to acquire a struggling auto parts chain had demanded his presence in the city, and with his Bentley in for repairs and his driver snarled in traffic, he'd made a split-second choice to catch the subway. It was a rare misstep for a millionaire who prided himself on control, and the stale air, thick with the scent of metal and sweat, only deepened his irritation. Across from him, a woman slumped against the window, her worn coat slipping off one shoulder, dark hair spilling over her face. Jack had barely registered her when she boarded 4 stops back, too absorbed in his work. But as the train jolted, she tipped sideways, her head landing gently on his shoulder. He froze, the warmth of her cheek an unexpected intrusion against his crisp shirt. Her hands gripped a tattered backpack, knuckles pale, as if it anchored her to the world. Jack cleared his throat, his voice low but firm. "Miss, you all right?" No response. He glanced around. The only other passenger, a teenager lost in his phone, didn't notice. Shifting carefully, Jack tried to ease her off, but she murmured something soft and settled closer. Up close, her face was pale, etched with faint lines of exhaustion, maybe mid-30s. Something about her, vulnerable yet resolute, stirred a pang in him, a reminder of the people he'd passed by in his relentless climb to wealth. The train screeched into Willow Creek Station, his stop. Jack wasn't one for impulsive kindness, but leaving her here, alone in this dim car, felt wrong. He nudged her gently. "Hey, time to wake up." Her eyes snapped open, dark and startled, and she jerked upright, clutching her bag. "I'm sorry." Her voice was soft, with a faint Eastern European accent. "I didn't mean to." "It's fine," Jack said, standing. "You were out cold. This your stop?" She hesitated, glancing at the platform through the smudged window. "I don't know." Her words were heavy, and Jack caught a flicker of fear in her eyes, the kind he'd seen in business partners down to their last dollar. He adjusted his tie, weighing his next move. "Willow Creek's my town. Quiet, decent folks. You got somewhere to be." She shook her head, her gaze dropping. "No, not really." The doors hissed, about to close. Jack's instinct was to walk away. His life was complicated enough, but her quiet desperation gnawed at him. "Look, I'm grabbing coffee at the diner up the street. You look like you could use one." No pressure, just a warm drink. He stepped onto the platform, leaving the choice to her. After a beat, she followed, her steps tentative like she was testing unsteady ground. Outside, the autumn air carried the scent of fallen leaves and distant bonfires. Willow Creek's main street was still, its diner, hardware store, and barbershop shuttered for the night. Jack's black SUV, dropped off by his assistant, waited at the station, but he opted to walk, sensing Elena needed space. She trailed a few steps behind, silent but observant, her backpack slung over one shoulder. "I'm Jack Harper," he said, breaking the quiet. "Run a company, auto parts mostly. Not usually a subway guy, but I was in a rush today." "You, Elena," she said after a pause, her voice barely above a whisper. "I used to teach. Back home." "Teacher, huh? Where's home?" He kept his tone light, probing gently. "Ukraine," she said, then hesitated. "I came here a year ago. Thought I'd find work, start over. But it's hard." Jack nodded, filing that away. The diner's neon sign glowed ahead, and he held the door open for her. Inside, the place was nearly empty, smelling of coffee and fried onions. They slid into a booth, and Jack ordered 2 coffees, watching Elena as she set her bag beside her, still guarded. "So," he said, leaning back, "what's got you riding subways with no destination?" Elena's fingers traced the mug's rim. "I lost my job. Cleaning houses under the table. No papers, no real chance at anything steady." Her voice wavered, but she met his gaze. "I've been moving around, trying to stay ahead of trouble." "Trouble?" Jack's brow lifted. He'd dealt with enough shady characters to know that word carried weight. She shrugged, but her eyes flickered with something. Fear, maybe shame. Debts. People who don't let you walk away easy. Jack sipped his coffee, his mind turning. He didn't trust quickly. Too many deals had taught him caution, but Elena's honesty, raw and unpolished, felt real. She wasn't asking for pity, just stating facts. His thoughts drifted to Timmy, his 6-year-old son, who'd been without a steady nanny since the last one quit. His mother was watching Timmy tonight, but she was in her 70s, her energy fading. Jack needed someone reliable, someone with heart. "You good with kids?" he asked, testing the waters. Elena's expression softened. "I taught first grade. Loved it. Why? My boy Timmy needs a nanny. Last one bailed, and my mom's not up for it long term." He paused, gauging her reaction. "It's a real job, room, board, fair pay. But I need to know you're serious. And I need references, or at least a trial run." Her eyes widened, wary but intrigued. "You're offering me a job? You just met me." Jack chuckled, a dry sound. "I'm a businessman. I read people. You're down on your luck, but you're not a quitter. Plus, Timmy's a car nut. Loves anyone who'll listen to him ramble about engines." He leaned forward, serious now. "But I need you to meet him, see if it clicks. And I check your story. No offense." Elena nodded slowly, like she was weighing every word. "I'd like to meet him. But why help me?" Jack shrugged, masking the truth. He wasn't sure himself, except that her resilience reminded him of his late father, who'd rebuilt their family garage from nothing. "Let's just say I've had a soft spot for underdogs. One night in my guest room, no strings. Tomorrow we see about Timmy." She studied him, then gave a small nod. "Okay. Thank you, Jack." They walked to his mansion, a sleek expanse of glass and stone just outside town. The foyer was warm, cluttered with Timmy's toys and drawings, a contrast to the sterile wealth of the exterior. Jack showed Elena to the guest room, sensing her tension ease slightly. But his thoughts snagged on Clara, his estranged wife, who lived in the guest wing, their divorce stalled by legal wrangling. Clara was trouble, jealous, manipulative, and lately tied to some unsavory types in town. Jack's arrogance had let her linger, assuming he could outmaneuver her games. He should have warned Elena, but he figured Clara was his problem, not hers. That was his mistake, one he'd regret soon. Morning brought Willow Creek's Harvest Fair prep, a tradition of hay bales and homemade pies that embodied the town's values: hard work, community, respect for elders. Jack took Elena to his mother's rancher, where Timmy, all freckles and energy, showed her his toy cars. Elena's gentle questions won him over, and Jack felt a spark of possibility, like she could fit here. But back at the mansion, Clara's red convertible sat in the drive, and Jack's gut tightened. He hadn't mentioned Clara to Elena, thinking it irrelevant. "Stay with Timmy," he told Elena, heading to confront Clara. She was in the guest wing, pacing, phone pressed her ear. "I said I'll handle it," she snapped, hanging up as Jack entered. Her designer heels clicked, her smile sharp. "What's this, Clara?" Jack's voice was low, controlled. "You don't just show up." "Checking on my home, Jack," she purred. "Heard you've got a new hire. Charity case." "None of your business," he shot back, but her words stung. He'd underestimated Clara's spite, and now she was eyeing Elena. As Jack rejoined Elena and Timmy, a black SUV rolled by the mansion, slowing just enough to make his skin prickle. Clara's glance toward it was too deliberate. Elena, on the porch, froze, her eyes locked on the vehicle, like it wasn't her first time seeing it. "Jack," she said quietly, "I need to tell you about the trouble I mentioned." Before she could elaborate, Timmy ran up, holding a small, ornate silver key he'd found in the garden. "Dad, look." "Yours." Jack's pulse quickened. The key wasn't his, but it felt like trouble. "Inside, buddy," he said, pocketing it. "We got some talking to do." The SUV's engine faded, but Jack knew Elena's story was about to pull him into something far bigger than a nanny job. Jack closed the mansion's front door behind Timmy, his hand lingering on the ornate silver key in his pocket. Elena's words, "I need to tell you about the trouble I mentioned," hung in the air, her face taut with unease as she stood on the porch. The black SUV's slow cruise past the house lingered in Jack's mind, its connection to Clara's glance undeniable. He'd seen her play dirty before, but this felt different, like a storm brewing just out of sight. "All right, Elena," he said, keeping his voice steady. "Let's hear it. What's got you so spooked?" Elena glanced at Timmy, who was already distracted, zooming a toy car across the hardwood floor. "Not here," she said softly. "Somewhere private." Jack nodded, his gut telling him this wasn't just about her past. "Guest room's quiet. Timmy, stay put, okay? We'll be right back." He led Elena down the hall, the mansion's sleek walls and modern art a stark contrast to the weight of the moment. Inside the guest room, Elena set her backpack down, her movements deliberate, like she was stealing herself. "Those people in the SUV," she began, her accent thicker under stress. "They're after me. Loan sharks from the city. I borrowed money when I first got here to survive. Small stuff, I thought I could pay it back cleaning houses." She swallowed, her eyes distant. "But the interest piled up, and they don't let you go. I've been dodging them for weeks." Jack leaned against the wall, processing. He'd dealt with predators in business, vultures who preyed on desperation. But this was personal, messy. "How much do you owe?" 10,000, she said, almost a whisper. "Might as well be 1,000,000. I've got nothing." Jack's jaw tightened. 10 grand was pocket change to him. But he wasn't naive enough to think paying it would end this. Men like that didn't walk away clean. "And the SUV? They followed you here." "I think so," Elena said, her voice cracking. "I saw it in the city last week. I didn't think they'd find me in Willow Creek." Jack's mind raced, snagging on Clara's involvement. Her call, her glance at the SUV, it Kimberly, the key in his pocket. None of it was coincidence. His arrogance had blinded him to Clara's spite, assuming her jealousy was just petty drama. He should have kicked her out months ago, but he delayed, thinking he could manage her. Now Elena was in the crosshairs, and that was on him. "We'll figure this out," he said, his voice firm. "But you stay close. No running." Elena nodded, but her eyes were haunted. "I don't want Timmy hurt, Jack. Or you. Maybe I should go." "No." Jack cut in, sharper than he meant. "You're not running. That's what they want." He softened, seeing her flinch. "You're good for Timmy. He needs you. We'll handle this, but I need you to trust me." She studied him, then gave a small nod. "Okay, but if they come for me, I won't let them touch him." Jack respected her resolve, but it only deepened his guilt. He'd brought her into his home without digging into her past, assuming he could control the fallout. Mistake number 2, and he wasn't about to dodge it. "Get some rest," he said. "I've got calls to make." That afternoon, Jack drove Elena and Timmy to the harvest fair, hoping the town's bustle would clear their heads. Willow Creek's main street was alive with booths selling quilts and homemade jams, kids darting through hay mazes, and elders swapping stories on benches. The fair was a cornerstone of the town's values: community, hard work, respect. Values Jack's father had drilled into him. He watched Elena help Timmy paint a pumpkin, her laughter genuine despite the shadow over her. Timmy beamed, calling her Miss Elena, and Jack's chest tightened. She was already part of their world, and he'd be damned if he let anyone take that away. But his eyes kept scanning for that SUV. He called a private investigator he trusted, asking for a discreet check on Claire's recent contacts. The key, though, nagged at him. It was old, intricate, like it belonged to a safe or a lockbox. He hadn't shown it to Elena yet, unsure if it tied to her debts or Claire's schemes. For now, he kept it close, a puzzle he'd solve soon. Back at the mansion, Jack found Clara in the guest wing, rifling through a drawer. "Looking for something?" he asked, his tone icy. She spun, her smile saccharine. "Just tidying up, Jack. You're so busy with your new friend, I thought I'd help." "Cut the act," he snapped. "I know you're mixed up with some bad people. Stay away from Elena, or I'll make sure the divorce leaves you with nothing." Clara's eyes narrowed, but she laughed. "You're paranoid, darling. She's the one with secrets. Ask her about her friends in the city." Jack's blood boiled, but he held back. Clara wanted a reaction, and he wouldn't give her one. He left, locking the guest wing behind him, but her words stuck. He should have pressed Elena harder about the loan sharks, but he'd backed off, thinking he was protecting her. Denial, plain and simple. That evening, Jack and Elena sat in the living room, Timmy asleep upstairs. The fireplace crackled, casting shadows as they strategized. "We need to know who's after you," Jack said. "Names, places, anything you remember." Elena hesitated, then spoke. "The main guy's called Victor. Runs a pawn shop in the city, but it's a front. He's got guys like the ones in the SUV enforcers. They came to my old apartment a month ago, trashed it. That's when I started moving." Jack's fists clenched. "And the key Timmy found? You ever see anything like it?" She frowned, shaking her head. "No, but Victor kept a safe in his office." "Maybe," she trailed off, uncertain. Jack pulled the key from his pocket. It's silver glinting. "Could be his. Or something Claire's after. She's not just jealous. She's scared of something." He paused, meeting her gaze. "I messed up, Elena. I thought I could keep Clara in check, and now you're paying for it. I'm fixing this." Elena's expression softened. "You didn't know, but I brought this trouble here. We're both at fault." Her honesty hit harder than blame would have. Jack nodded, a silent vow forming. He'd underestimated Clara, but no more. "Tomorrow, we check that pawn shop. Discreetly. I've got a guy who can help." The next morning, Jack's investigator called with a lead. Victor's pawn shop was tied to a larger operation, and Clara had been seen there last week. The news hit like a punch. Jack arranged for Timmy to stay with his mother, then drove Elena to the city, to an abandoned warehouse near the pawn shop. It was a risk, but they needed answers, and the warehouse offered cover to watch Victor's crew. The warehouse was a crumbling shell, its windows shattered, the air thick with dust and rust. Jack and Elena crouched behind a stack of crates, peering at the pawn shop across the street. Two men in leather jackets lounged outside, one matching Elena's description of Victor's enforcers. "That's them," she whispered, her voice tight. Jack's phone buzzed. A text from his investigator. Clara's car spotted at pawn shop now. His blood ran cold. "She's here," he muttered, scanning the lot. Sure enough, Clara's red convertible was parked out back, half-hidden. "We need to get closer," Elena said, her eyes fierce. "If she's with Victor, we need proof." Jack hesitated. His instinct was to shield Elena, but she was right. Proof could end this. "Stay low," he said, leading her through the warehouse's shadows to a side door. They slipped outside, creeping toward the pawn shop's rear. Through a grimy window, Jack saw Clara arguing with a wiry man. "Victor," by Elena's gasp. Clara waved a paper, her face furious, while Victor smirked, tapping a safe on the wall. The key in Jack's pocket felt heavier. Before Jack could signal a retreat, one of Victor's men rounded the corner, spotting them. "Hey!" the man shouted, drawing a knife. Jack grabbed Elena's arm, pulling her back into the warehouse as the man gave chase. They dodged through rusted machinery, the man's footsteps pounding behind. Jack's heart raced. He'd led them into a trap, his overconfidence blinding him again. They ducked behind a forklift, but the man was close, his knife glinting. Elena grabbed a rusted pipe from the floor, her face set. "We fight," she hissed. Jack nodded, grabbing a wrench from a nearby crate. The man lunged, and Jack swung, catching his arm. Elena struck his knee with the pipe, and he crumpled, groaning. They didn't wait. Jack pulled her toward the warehouse's exit, but outside, the SUV was waiting, its engine roaring. Victor's men piled out, and Jack's stomach dropped. They were surrounded, and Clara's laughter echoed from the pawn shop door. "Nice try, Jack," she called, her voice venomous. "You should have stayed out of it." Elena's hand tightened on the pipe, and Jack knew they were out of time. The men closed in, and the silver key burned in his pocket, a clue to a truth he hadn't yet unraveled. The warehouse's shadows pressed in as Victor's men closed the circle, their boots crunching on broken glass. Jack gripped the wrench, his pulse hammering, while Elena stood firm beside him, her rusted pipe raised. Clara's mocking laughter cut through the air, her silhouette framed in the pawn shop doorway across the lot. The black SUV idled behind her, its headlights casting a harsh glow. Jack's mind raced. His arrogance had led them into this trap, thinking he could outsmart Clara and Victor with a quick recon. Now, surrounded, he saw the cost of his pride, and Elena's fear for Timmy's safety mirrored his own. "Stay close," he whispered to her, scanning for an escape. The men were 6 feet away, their faces hard, one twirling a crowbar with intent. "Drop the toys," the lead enforcer growled, nodding at Jack's wrench. "Victor wants a chat." Jack's eyes flicked to Elena, her jaw set despite the tremble in her hands. She'd fought to protect him, just as he'd sworn to protect her. No way was he letting these thugs win. "Elena," he murmured, "that stack of crates to your left, unstable. Push when I move." Her nod was subtle, trusting. Jack took a step forward, raising the wrench like he was surrendering, then lunged at the nearest man, slamming the tool into his shoulder. The thug staggered, cursing, and Elena shoved the crates with all her strength. They toppled, crashing into 2 others, buying them seconds. Jack grabbed her arm, sprinting for the warehouse's side exit as shouts erupted behind them. They burst into the alley, the SUV's engine roaring as it peeled after them. Jack's SUV was parked a block away, hidden behind a dumpster. They reached it, piling in as the black SUV screeched around the corner. Jack floored the gas, weaving through the city's backstreets, his heart pounding. Elena clutched the door, her face pale. "They won't stop," she said, voice tight. "Victor wants his money, or me." "They're not getting either," Jack said, his tone fierce. He glanced at her, guilt gnawing at him. "I screwed this up, Elena. I thought I could handle Clara, keep her in line. I was wrong, and you're paying for it." She shook her head. "We're in this together. You gave me a chance when no one else did." Her words hit hard, fueling his resolve. He'd been arrogant, dismissing Clara's threat, denying the danger until it cornered them. No more. He'd end this, for Elena, for Timmy, for the family he was starting to imagine. But first, they needed safety and answers about that silver key burning a hole in his pocket. Back in Willow Creek, Jack drove to his mother's rancher, the town's harvest fair, still in full swing. Main Street glowed with string lights, booths offering pies and cider, a testament to the community's strength. Neighbors helping neighbors, a value Jack had leaned on his whole life. He called his investigator, who confirmed Victor's operation was shaky, bleeding cash, and Clara's involvement was leverage she'd borrowed from Victor to fund her lifestyle, tying her to his schemes. The key, the investigator guessed, might unlock a safe holding Victor's ledger, proof of his illegal deals. Jack parked, turning to Elena. "We're not running. We take this to the sheriff, expose Clara and Victor. But it's risky. They'll come for us." Elena's eyes were steady. "I'm done hiding. For Timmy's sake, I'll fight." Her courage stirred something in Jack, pride, but also a deeper ache. He'd felt it watching her with Timmy, her gentle strength filling a void in their home. But love was a risk, and Clara's betrayal had left scars. Still, Elena wasn't Clara. She was real, flawed, and worth fighting for. Inside, Timmy ran to them, hugging Elena first. "Miss Elena, you're back." Jack's chest tightened as Timmy turned to him, whispering, "She's like a mom, Dad." The words landed like a revelation, and Jack met Elena's gaze, seeing the same hope mirrored there, tempered by fear of what lay ahead. Jack took Timmy to his mother, explaining enough to keep them safe, then drove Elena to the sheriff's station. But as they pulled onto Main Street, the black SUV appeared in the rear view, tailing them. Jack's stomach dropped. "They're here," he said, gripping the wheel. "Hold on." He swerved into the fairgrounds, where the crowd offered cover. The SUV followed, but Jack knew Willow Creek's layout like his own hands. He cut through a side lot, parking behind the community center, where fair volunteers were stacking chairs. "Stay with the crowd," he told Elena. "I'll draw them off." "No," she said, grabbing his arm. "We face this together." Her defiance stopped him. He nodded, and they slipped into the fair, blending with families and elders. The community center buzzed with a potluck, tables laden with casseroles and cornbread, a symbol of Willow Creek's unity. Jack spotted Sheriff Daniels, a grizzled man he'd known since childhood, and waved him over, explaining Victor's crew and Clara's role. He handed over the silver key, describing the safe in Victor's pawn shop. Daniel's eyes narrowed. "That key's been floating around. Word is it's Victor's insurance. Names, dates, payoffs. If we get that ledger, he's done." Before Daniels could radio for backup, the SUV's headlights swept the lot. Victor's men stepped out, Victor himself among them, a wiry figure with cold eyes. Clara was with them, her face twisted with fury. The crowd hushed, sensing trouble, but Willow Creek's spirit kicked in. Elders ushered kids away, and volunteers, burly farmers and mechanics, formed a loose barrier. "Harper," Victor called, his voice sharp. "Give me the key," and the woman walks. Jack stepped forward, Elena at his side, her hand brushing his for strength. "You're done, Victor," he said, loud enough for the crowd to hear. "Sheriff's got your number. That ledger's your funeral." Victor sneered, but Clara's eyes widened, fear breaking through. "Jack, don't," she hissed. "You'll ruin everything." Jack ignored her, his voice steady. "I was wrong about you, Clara. I let you stay. Thought I could control the mess. But you crossed the line, and I'm ending it." He turned to Daniels, who was already signaling deputies. "Take them." Victor's men lunged, but the community closed ranks. A farmer named Hank, built like a tractor, tackled one thug, while others blocked the rest. Deputies swarmed, cuffing Victor as he shouted threats. Clara tried to run, but Elena stepped in her path, her voice calm but firm. "You don't get to hurt them anymore." Clara froze, then crumpled, sobbing, as deputies led her away. The crowd cheered, a raw, proud sound, and Jack felt Willow Creek's heart. Family, honesty, courage pulsed through them all. Later, at the sheriff's station, Daniels confirmed the key opened Victor's safe, recovered that night. The ledger exposed Victor's network and Clara's debts, ensuring their convictions. Elena's debt was voided, the loan shark's leverage gone. But the victory wasn't clean. Jack's business took a hit as Clara's legal ties to him froze some assets, and Elena faced a long road to legal status. That night, back at the mansion, Jack and Elena sat on the porch, Timmy asleep inside. The fair's lights twinkled in the distance, a reminder of the community that had saved them. Jack took Elena's hand, his voice rough with emotion. "I almost lost you because I was too proud to see the truth. I don't deserve you, but I'm asking for a chance." Elena's eyes glistened, but she smiled. "You fought for me, Jack. For us. That's enough." She leaned in, their kiss soft but certain, a promise forged through fire. Obstacles remained. Legal battles, financial strain, but love, forgiveness, and Timmy's trust anchored them. Jack pulled back, his grin boyish. "Timmy called you Mom today. Think you're ready for that?" Elena laughed, tears falling. "I've been ready since he showed me his first toy car." The next morning, Willow Creek rallied around them. Neighbors brought meals, offered legal contacts, and invited Elena to teach at the community center, a step toward stability. The town's support, rooted in hard work and second chances, gave Jack hope. Healing wasn't easy. Money was tight, and Elena's past lingered. But together, they'd rebuild. Jack looked at Elena, Timmy playing nearby, and felt pride swell. They weren't perfect, but they were family. Subscribe to the channel to see more soul-stirring stories. He imagined saying, knowing their tale of love, courage, and community would inspire others to keep fighting.